In this lecture, I am going to discuss some important properties of matched filters. Okay. I was talking about matched filters for the case of the signal in white noise and the signal in non-white noise. Okay. So in the signal in white noise is also called white and matched filter, because we can think of the matched filter operation as of as composed of first whitening the noise and then following it for maximization. So that we have seen that, let me write down here, like g of f is equal to s conjugate of f divided by n of f. So you can think of this as first n of f followed by s conjugate of f. Therefore the input signal n of f, let's say in the time domain n of t, in the frequency domain n of f, is first whitened by the matched filter and then multiplied by the s of f. Okay, so first whitening the noise and then filtering it for maximization. So in any case, the main purpose of the matched filter is to maximize the signal to noise ratio at the sampling instant. And the manner in which it achieves this objective is by weighing the different frequency component in accordance with the signal to noise ratio present in the present at those frequencies, okay, or those components which are dominantly consisting of signal as compared to noise. Okay, so which are given more weightage by the filter as compared to the frequency components with the noise is more dominant. So whenever the signal is more dominant, then more weighing factor is given by this filter. Okay, so this filter will give more weighing, more weightage to the frequency component which has contribution from the signal, more contribution from the signal. It gives less weighing to the frequency components which in which the noise is dominant in that case. Okay, so this is what we discussed in the last class, and this is a manner it achieves the maximization of the SNR. And we also learned that the output to SNR does not depend on the signal pulse shape. Okay, if the noise is Gaussian noise, white Gaussian noise, if the noise is white noise, then the output signal to noise ratio does not depend on the signal shape, but it depends only on the energy in the pulse, how much energy the pulse has. Okay, so therefore the actual pulse shape does not contribute or does not matter or does not affect the output SNR. The only parameter of the signal that matters is the energy component present in the SNR. How much energy it has, that matters. Whereas if the noise is non-white Gaussian noise, then the pulse shape will also be contribute, okay, to the output SNR, and not only with the energy. So we need to consider pulse shape as well as the amount of energy contained in the pulse. So these are the few a few properties that we learned from the previous lecture series. Okay, now we have little more one more property with those properties. So let me summarize those two properties again and let me go to the third property. So the first property is given as A times R of t equal to A, and this gives the signal contribution. So how much signal is giving the contribution out of the matched filter. Okay, so 1 minute, let me take that one. Yeah, so this is a signal output, and we are sampling this output at t equal to t equal to 0. This is arbitrarily I have chosen. Sometimes people will choose t equal to capital T also, and I'm sorry, I'm staying nearby there is a big banyan tree, and my house is near to the big banyan tree, and there are so many bats. These bats are screaming, so kindly bear this noise. So suddenly they started to scream, and there are hundreds and thousands of bats. All are big bats, so I'm helpless. Okay, so then it could be anything. I can choose t equal to capital T or t equal to 0 or anything I can choose. So therefore without any loss of generality, corresponding to the matched filter, g of t equals s conjugate of minus t Okay, your uh, sampling instant can be t sub 0. So it would have been s conjugate of t0 minus t. If it is t equal to t0 and the t equal to 0, then your g of t, this implies g of t equal to s conjugate of minus t. If t is equal to t naught, that means it is not equal to 0. In this case, your g of t is equal to s conjugate of t naught minus t. Okay, and the power in the signal is given by a square. Power is equal to a square, and the energy is given mod of a square. This also mod of a square, and you can take it. And here t is normalized because we know that energy equal to power times t. The duration, this is duration. Let's put capital T. Let me take p equal to, no, let me normalize t equal to 1. Therefore, again, this is power, this is a square. That's it. So in our case, I am assuming power and energy one and the same. So this is the first property, and the second property will give you the amount of noise power contributed by the noise signal. So it is given by sigma square equal to n0 by 2, where sigma square indicates variance of the signal. Variance. And by the way, this is the mean of the signal. So the mean will give you the signal contribution, and variance will give you the noise contribution. Okay, so a times r of t is the mean of the signal. That means mean of the output. Okay, and the sigma square is the variance of the output. So that essentially will give you the noise power, and this is equal to n0 by 2. It is very easy to prove also. See, you transmit a pulse a times s of t, right? And this is contaminated by noise n of t, and what you receive is addition of this input signal and noise. Let me call this is v of t. This v of t equal to a times s of t plus n of t. Okay, and this you give it to the filter, and the filter impulse response is g of t. In the frequency domain, you call it a transfer function, and this is my output. Now, in order to calculate the noise power, then it is very easy and convenient for me if I work on it in the frequency domain. So let me work on it in the frequency domain. Frequency domain. In the frequency domain, the input noise, let me denote by power spectral density of the noise, n of f, and the output power or output is given by this n of f, input power spectral density, which is multiplied by mod of g of f and take square of that. So this is output transfer function. Output function, I cannot say transfer function, output function. Now output power, this output power is given by, you integrate this is a power spectral density after all, right? So integrate it, n of f times mod of g of f square times df, and of course the ranges from minus infinity plus infinity because the noise exists all the frequencies. And this output power is noise power. Therefore noise power, let me denote this noise power by sigma square, that is variance of the signal. It is given by like this. And when you assume this n of s is white noise, I will tell you what we mean by white noise. Then n of f is equal to n sub o by 2. You substitute here n sub o by 2, g of f, mod of g of f times square it, and integrate from minus infinity to plus infinity. And this n of f is, NO2 by 2 is constant. You can take it out from the integration. And from the matched filter, what is your g of f? We already have this. This is g of t. If you take a Fourier transform of this, then your g of f is equal to s conjugate of f. Okay, so substitute here. This is s conjugate of f. Take mod square and df and minus infinity plus infinity. Then this is n0 by 2 integral of minus infinity plus infinity. The conjugate will becomes real once you take mod of that. Then s of f square and df, and this is energy of the pulse in the frequency domain. energy of by Parseval's relation. Please recall your Parseval's relation from your signals and system course. Energy of the pulse in the frequency domain. Okay, so which we assumed it is equal to 1. Therefore this is n naught by 2. Therefore the output noise power equal to n naught by 2. This we denote by sigma square equal to n naught by 2. This is the variance of the output noise power. So it's very simple and straightforward proof to prove this. And the third property, this is very important for digital communication, especially when we are dealing with digital demodulation schemes where we use this property frequently. Okay, and the third property is given as follows: filters matched to orthogonal signals has noise variances or noise power, and those noise powers are uncorrelated. Okay, so that's what the third property says. So we have the filters, and these filters are matched to orthogonal signals. Okay, and the output of the filter is sampled at either t equal to 0 or t equal to some t sub 0, some arbitrary time interval. Okay, and once you sample, you'll get some random variable, and those random variables would be uncorrelated. So that's what we want to prove this. Now suppose you take two signals. You can have m signals, but for simplicity I'm going to consider only two signals, and those two signals are orthogonal. What we mean by orthogonal is you take s naught of t, and if it is complex number, then you take complex conjugate of t and dt and integrate over the range, then it is equal to 0. This is the definition of orthogonality. Okay, orthogonality. Then now let us say my signal is like this. Let me call this is s naught of t. It exists from 0 to t. Okay, then let me take another signal, then like this. Maybe I'll draw like this. Okay, so it has gone like this. This is t by 2. This is a very bad figure, I'm sorry. This is t, and let me call the amplitude is a time t. Then this also a, and this is s1 of t. Now here both are real signal, of course, and if you multiply and integrate over 0 to t, then it will give 0. Therefore these two signals are orthogonal signals. Now what you do is, to decode this, you take two matched filters. One matched filter you map to this guy, and take another matched filter you map to this guy, second guy. Okay, so for this the matched filter is like this. So s naught of minus t. Okay, s naught conjugate, of course it is real, this conjugate is not needed. And for this you take another matched filter, then it is mapped onto s1 conjugate of minus t. So these are the two matched filters matched onto orthogonal signals. Okay, so I have the matched filter and matched to orthogonal signals. Suppose the input contains one of those two signals to which these filters are matched. See, in the input I can either transmit s naught of t or s1 of t arbitrarily based on the incoming bit sequences. Let's say 1 I am mapping onto s naught of t, and 0 I am mapping onto s1 of t, like this. So in the input I am transmitting a times, sorry, a not a naught, a times s naught of t. Let me write properly. A times s naught of t. Then okay, this noise is contaminated by the white noise, let's say n of t, and this is given to both the filters because I'm using two signals. I'm not using only one signal, I'm using two signals. So I'll put in a bank of matched filters. Let's say my matched filter 1, it is mapped onto s naught of minus t, and I have one more matched filter. This matched filter is mapped onto s naught of, sorry, this is s1 of minus t, two matched filters. Okay, now what will happen at the output is sample after matched filtering at t equal to 0, sample at t equal to 0, and here also is sample at t equal to 0. And recall from your previous lectures that here also you are giving a times s of t plus n of t, and this s naught of t is mapped onto this s naught of t. Therefore the signal contribution is a here, and here also the signal contribution is A, therefore signal output equal to A. But what about the second matched filter? This S0 of t is coming over all the way and multiplied by S1 of minus t, and you are integrating, right? That's what basically you are doing in the matched filter. So since S0 of t and this S1 of t both are orthogonal, the signal contribution is 0 here. Therefore in the second matched filter, signal output equal to 0. What about the noise part? Because here noise is, if you take in power spectral domain, n of f, and the output will be output noise power. Output will be, it is n naught by 2. The same noise is coming here also. The same noise is coming here also. Therefore this filter also will give the output noise power. This is output noise actually. Output noise or noise variance. This is n naught by 2. Okay. Now what this third property is trying to say is that this noise and this noise both are uncorrelated because they are coming in the quadrature channels, okay, or orthogonal channels. This channel is orthogonal to the second channel. So whenever the noise is coming through orthogonal channels, then the noise is uncorrelated. So if it is white Gaussian noise, then the noise is independent. Uncorrelatedness implies independent. That we'll see now. We will prove that. Okay, so this is what I want to try to say here from the third property. So you have one of two possible signals, S0 of t and S1 of t, and let's say you are transmitting A times S0 of t, and that signal is contaminated by n of t. So in the upper arm also you are getting A signal plus noise. The lower arm also getting you are the same signal A times A S0 of t plus n of t. And this S0 is orthogonal to S1 of t. Therefore the signal contribution is 0 here. But the same noise is coming here to this matched filter, and it gives output noise or noise variance. Noise variance equal to n naught by 2. And this noise variance and this both are uncorrelated. So therefore noise will be uncorrelated. Noise will be uncorrelated. Now let us try to prove this. So the simple is the proof is very simple. It's more or less involved with your random process course. So let me recall here. So you have S0 of t, right? And A times S0 of t. This is contaminated by noise, and this is given to the, let's say, I'll take the matched filter 1, okay, and this is given to a sampler, because the output is a random waveform, and that waveform we need to sample it up. Sample at t equal to 0, okay, and this is given to the output. Fine. Now this is the first matched filter, right? The first matched filter output, let me denote by, let's say here this denote by n0 of t, and once you sample, let me call by the random variable n0. Similarly the same signal you give to the second matched filter, and this output let me denote by n1 of t, and then again sample it, then the output let me denote by n1. Okay, now what is n0 of t in the time domain? If you write n0 of t is your noise n of t conjugate with the matched filter g of t, right? So this is g of t. Fine. What is g of t in the first matched filter case? It is s conjugate, s0 conjugate of minus t. So this is n of t conjugate with the s0 of minus t. Okay, this is convolved with the n of tau, s of t minus tau. So this becomes s of tau, and s of t minus tau, that is t minus tau becomes t plus tau d tau. This is my n0 of. Now you sample at t equal to 0. Sample at t equal to 0. The moment you do the sampling at t equal to 0, then n0 of 0, let me call by n0, the output. This is a random variable, so this is n of tau times s. This is s0 actually. S naught, and if it is complex you put a conjugate here, this also conjugate. Okay, and S of tau times d tau. This is the output of the first matched filter. By the same token, your n1 will be integral of n of tau. Same noise is no applied to both the filters, is being applied to the both matched filters, and S1 conjugate of tau times d tau. This is the second matched filter output. Second matched filter output. Now we need to show that n0 and n1 are uncorrelated. So how do we show this? Simple, you take the cross autocorrelation function of this. Take autocorrelation function and prove this. So before that, let me I'm sorry, why it is not. It is let me delete this. This already I prepared the lecture, but the mic was not enabled, so I couldn't do this. So again, I need to record this. It's a re-recording actually. Second time I'm recording the same lecture. Not second time, it is I think third time, because of so many disturbances. I hope there will not be any disturbance now. Okay, n0 and n1 are uncorrelated. So how do you prove that? So you take expectation, that is autocorrelation function of autocorrelation function of n1 n0 times n1 complex conjugate, because if the random variable is complex, then you take complex conjugate. This is equal to, okay, this is equal to expected value of what is n0? N0 is integral of n of tau. Because I have two integrals here, let me use dummy variable. This is s1. Let me write down s of tau 1 times s naught conjugate of tau 1 times d tau 1, range from minus infinity to plus infinity, and this one is n of tau 2. Let me use another dummy variable, tau 2. Then this is s1 conjugate of tau 2 times d tau 2. Okay, then then what is the next step I can do? There is a two dummy variables, right? You take the expectation inside, and this is a deterministic signal. And this is also deterministic signal. If you take expectation, then you'll get the same thing outside. Therefore I can do like this. Then s naught conjugate of tau 1, s1 conjugate of tau 2, and the expected value of n of tau 1, then n of tau 2, d tau 1, d tau 2. Okay, and the limit is, integration limit is from minus infinity to plus infinity, and this also minus infinity to plus infinity. Now what is this? This one is a white noise. Okay, so you're taking the autocorrelation function. If you take the autocorrelation function of the white noise, then it is going to be an impulse function with the magnitude n0 by 2 del of tau 2 minus tau 1, or tau 1 minus tau 2, whichever is bigger, you can take the difference. Okay, so therefore the next step is s0 conjugate of tau 1, s1 conjugate of tau 2. This is n0 by 2 times del of tau 2 minus tau 1 times d tau 1, d tau 2. Okay, now you can do little bit simplification in this. So let me rearrange this as follows. Since n0 by 2 is constant, you can pull out of the integral, and this is s1 of tau 2. And by the way, you need to take conjugate. Actually, the whole thing is, I forgot to put here, the whole thing is complex conjugate. If you do the complex conjugate, then this conjugate will go away, and then this will be conjugate. Okay, so therefore this also will go away. Then integral of s naught of tau 1, this conjugate exists here, del of tau 2 minus tau 1 times, let me put d tau 1 and d tau 2. You take this inner integral first, and now you apply the property from your signals and system impulse functions. You take x of t times del of t minus t naught and integrate over with respect to dt. Then this is going to be x of t naught by the same procedure. So instead of t naught, I have t2 here. Let me take this is t1 minus t2, t1 minus t2. Okay, therefore this is n naught by 2 integral of s1 of tau 2, and this is going to be s naught of s naught, the conjugate still exists, s naught of tau 2 and d tau 2. Now what is this? You are taking the two orthogonal functions s naught of t and s1 of t, taking the inner product and integrating, of course, from minus infinity to plus infinity. Therefore this is going to be 0. So therefore n naught by 2 times 0 is going to be 0. So whenever you have two noise variances which are coming from orthogonal channels or orthogonal filters, then those noise variants will be uncorrelated. Okay, so the noise variances are uncorrelated. If it is white noise, then it is independent also. The uncorrelatedness implies independent. Then any other point I want to important stay here 1 minute, then I think that's it. Okay, so the third property is very important for communication systems. In case if you have more than two signals here, to explain, I have taken only two signals which are orthogonal. But if you have m orthogonal signals, let's say I have one more block also here, this is 1, 2 up to m orthogonal signals. In that case, this first filter will produce the noise variance n naught by 2, second filter will produce noise variance n0 by 2, and this also produces n0 by 2. And this noise variance are mutually uncorrelated. And this property we will repeatedly use when we are going to, or when we will discuss digital demodulators, especially for non-coherent demodulators. Okay, so this is very useful. So whenever you have capital M number of orthogonal signaling schemes, then you will be having m number of matched filters at the receiver. Each matched filter is matched to one of the transmitted signal. Okay, so for example, this is matched to s naught of t, s naught of minus t conjugate, and this one is s1 conjugate of minus t, and this one is s sub m conjugate of minus t if the sampling instant t equal to 0, and here also the sampling instant t equal to 0. If it is not t equal to 0, then it becomes s sub m conjugate of that t naught minus capital T. This t naught can be anything value. If you put t, then you can substitute t also there. Okay, so this property is very useful. Okay, so the noise values coming out of the matched filter after sampling, okay, will have no correlation among them. Okay, so there is no correlation with each other. So they will turn out to be totally different from each other, since the noise variance is same. See, here also n naught by 2, here also n naught by 2, and here also n naught by 2, but they are totally different from each other. They will have no correlation with each other. There is no correlation, so, and totally different from each other. But you can say, or you can claim that, look at, see, the noise variants are equal. The value is equal, of course, but they are completely different from each other by correlating. So it will not correlate. That's what I want to say here. So with that, I'll stop in this lecture. The next lecture, let me talk about passband matched filters. Till now I talked about baseband matched filter. This is, another name is called baseband matched filter. This one is baseband matched filters. Because I'm not doing any modulation here, I'm taking the pulse, straight away I'm doing the matched filtering here. When I say pass band, then essentially what I'm trying to say is that your baseband pulse is modulated by a carrier, that is the pulse is embedded on the carrier. That's what I mean by passband filters. Passband means it is modulated by the carrier. So let me stop at this point. Thank you very much.